Hey, it's Brittany. I'm going to be talking about my Emblem3 concert slash meet and greet experiences. Hope you guys like it. I've been to 4 Emblem3 concerts. The first one was at I Play America, and that was in New Jersey. The second one was at Highline Ballroom for the Going Back to Cali tour. The third one was at Terminal 5 in New York, and it was the one night stand with like all the artists. And the fourth one was the Good Morning America after party with Little Mix and Emblem3. And I also met them 4 times. The first time I met them was at the Highline Ballroom concert for the Going Back to Cali tour. It was a little like autograph signing, like they autographed a picture of them with their faces on it, and they were sitting at a table. It was Keaton, Wes, and then Drew. And I go up to Keaton, I was like, "Hi, Keaton." He's like, "Hi." I'm like, "I'm trying out for X Factor." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Good luck." I'm like, "Thank you." And then it was Leslie's turn. And I was like, "Hey, Wes." He's like, "Hey, I'm trying out for X Factor." He's like, "Oh, really? Get ready." I'm like, "Okay." And then it was Drew's turn. The guy was like, "Okay, say hi to Drew." And then I was just like, and I was like, "Hi," like, and in my head I wanted to say, "You're my favorite, I love you so much, blah blah blah." I was like, "You're amazing, you're so inspiring to me." And then I didn't want to be rude to Keaton and Wesley because they were standing right there. So I was just like, "Hi," and he was like in his own element. He was just like chilling. He probably didn't even hear me. And then I was like, "Okay, it's time to go." The guy was like, "Okay, it's time to go." I was like, "Okay, bye guys, love you." And then it was over. And I was with my sister, and afterwards I started crying, and she was laughing at me. But I was just really happy I got to meet them, and like I was just so grateful that I got the experience to talk to them for like a second, and then that was it. It was over. And then the second time I met them was at the Good Morning America after party, and I took a picture with them, and it was Wesley. It was Wesley and Drew in the middle, and then Keaton on the left. And me and Drew made eye contact. I was like, "Hi," and he was like, "Hi," and then it was my turn to go take a picture, and I go straight up to Drew, and I hug him, and he hugged me so tight. And he's like, "Oh, thank you so much, baby." And I was like, "Oh my god." He was calling me baby. I took the picture. I was in between Wesley and Drew. And then it was over. And then I got my bag, and I was like, "Bye, Keaton." And like I rubbed his arm. I was like, "Bye, Keaton." And then he was like, "Bye." And then it was over, and like I freaking went crazy. Like, I didn't cry or anything, but like I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that just happened." And then the third time I met them was at their Nothing to Lose album signing. And that was the one in New Jersey on July 29th. And then I was like in the beginning of the thing of the line, and then I went up and I was like, "Hi, Keaton, I'm Drew." "Hi, Keaton, I'm Brittany." And he was like, "Hi," and he was holding a Sharpie like in his right hand, so he gave me his left hand, and I was like, I shook it really awkwardly. And then it was Wesley's turn, and I was like, "Hi, Wes." He was like, "Hey." I was like, "I'm Brittany." He's like, "Hi," and then he gave me a high five. And then it was Drew's turn. The music was so loud, by the way, too. Like, it was so freaking loud. And then he was like jamming with the music and rapping. I was like, "Drew, Drew." I had to like yell at him for him to look at me. And then he's like, "Hey." I was like, "Hi, I'm Brittany." And I shook his hand. He was like, "Hi." And that was it. And like an hour later, after I left from the signing, I came back, and they were still signing autographs or whatever. And I yelled out what's his name. He looked at me for like a good solid like 5 seconds, and he waved at me and he smiled, and I was like, "Oh my god." And then I went home because my mom was like tired. She was at the mall all day with my sister, my niece, and we drove back to Long Island. And then the next day was their album signing in Long Island, where I live, and it was at Roosevelt Field, my local mall. It's like a couple minutes away from my house. And then it was Drew, Wes, and then Keaton. And I go up to Drew. I'm like, "Stranger is my favorite song." He's like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "We're actually adding new instruments to it and stuff, and we can't wait to put it out." I was like, "Oh, wow, that's so cool." He's like, "Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to hear it." And he said something, and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I was just talking about your smile." I'm like, "Oh." And that was the second time he said something. Like, when he was talking to me, like, he said, like, under his breath, he's like, "Oh, wow, you have a nice smile." Like, he didn't, like, say it directly to me. But, and then he said it again. I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't say thank you or anything because, like, I was in such shock. And then he's like, "Yeah, I can't wait for you to hear it." I was like, "Oh, yeah, me too. I can't wait to download it or whatever." And the guy was like, "Okay, next." And then he was like, "Bye." I was like, "Bye." And I gave him a high five. He was like, "Oh, you're awesome." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Even though I didn't say thank you, I was just like, "Oh." And then it was Leslie's turn. And, like, I was just looking at him. I was just like, his eyes are so freaking beautiful in person. Like, you don't expect them to be, like, what they look like. But it was just so freaking beautiful. I was like, "Hi." And I was like, "Do you remember me from yesterday?" He was like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you." And then it was Keaton's turn. And I was like, because I didn't really know what to say to Wesley. Because, like, I didn't really prepare anything to say to him. But it was Keaton's turn, and I was like, "Hey, Keaton, you remember me from yesterday?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, oh, wait, oh, where?" I'm like, "The New Jersey side." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you." And then the guy was like, "Okay, say bye." And then I was like, "Hey, Keaton, you should get a ferret." And he's like, "Don't they stink?" I was like, "Yeah, but you get used a little bit, but you get used to it." He's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then it was over. And then when they were leaving the table, they were walking. It was Keaton I saw first, and then Wesley, then Drew. And I was like, "Hi, Keaton," and I waved at him. And then Wesley came by. I was like, "Wesley," and I put my hand out. And he held my hand as he was walking for a couple of seconds. I was like, "Oh my god." And then it was Drew's turn, and he was walking,